once in a while when I get to see you before you showed up at. It's hard to believe this is our first one of press conference in September on Monday, September 13th, and we're already halfway through the month. But we had a good Labor Day weekend. I was out of town, enjoyed some time away, but it's good to get back. We got a lot of things going on last week, a lot of things the week before. I did want to comment on two things before getting started. I wanted to comment on just two things. One is I thought I really enjoyed the Mayor's Bowl. We had a good time. I thought it was it was unfortunate situation that we didn't probably get to do as much as we would have liked to have done. Obviously with COVID creating some things, but I thought the game was well attended. It was good to see a number of people focus on inner city athletics and activity, and I thought that was a good part of it. And I look forward to, I hope that's just a springboard for many things to come in the future as we move forward with that game. It was a lot of fun being with the Wildcats on the field afterwards, and really had a lot of fun. Certainly enjoyed and appreciated both Mayor Wiggins and Mayor Hayward being there as well. Commissioner May, Commissioner Bender. So there were a lot of people that showed up and had connections in one way or another to one of those two high schools. So it was a lot of fun, and we look forward to doing it again next year. Two, and I don't think people realized how important it was, and my understanding is it's been moving forward, getting the monoclonal opportunity here at Bayview, and what we had to do to get that, and the option that hopefully that's going to really help alleviate some of our hospitals, what is happening in that process. Today we have our phone conversation every other week with the hospitals. I look forward to having that one today, but I can tell you 2 weeks ago when we had our conversation, it was the most important thing that they felt like needed to happen, and since that time we've gone from roughly almost 400 hospitalizations to now we're down. I'm going to announce later on that we're down to 284 today, so under 300. Certainly we need to get down about another 150 to really get the hospitals back to a comfortable place that they can work with. And really I'd love to see us back down under 50 where we were for about 4 months, and I think we can get back to there. But there's no doubt that getting this treatment opportunity, hopefully it will allow us to find ways to get more people treated who do have COVID, and also find a way to really reduce the impact on hospitals. Certainly we are still continuing to work with community health and with Sacred Heart and Baptist and West Florida in trying to make sure we can get as many vaccines, and also the Florida Department of Health, as many vaccines and community health, many vaccines as possible into people. We continue to do that. We encourage you to get your vaccine, and certainly if you have your vaccine, to get your booster that will be coming out here shortly. So again, we do ask that you try to take advantage of these opportunities out there so that we can keep our hospitalizations low and continue to keep working on that. But I think getting that center here and having the state pay for it, it really was a team effort. It was we went from that Monday to Thursday making the announcement, and there was a lot of heavy lifting by county folks, by city folks, by our state officials. I can tell you, I know Alex, Michelle, Doug Broxton, even Jair Williamson working hard to make that happen, and I certainly appreciate all of their work to assist us in getting that done. It was a real good team effort, and I appreciate the governor getting that here, because I think it was critical for us to have that additional opportunity. It doesn't stop the need to get vaccines, and certainly even when the governor was there, he said to encourage as many people to get vaccines as possible. So we're going to continue to keep working on those things and keep making that happen. We have a lot of things that are happening this week. First off, we have a new city employee, or our city attorney, Charlie Pepler, will be starting this week on Wednesday. Our new transportation planner, Caitlin Suraim, and I hope I pronounced that correct. Okay, all right. So I'm getting good thumbs up back there. I just phonetically saw the spelling and should have thought about that before I started the press conference. Started this past week on September 7th. Again, we're excited to do some things. This is sort of the position that Mike Z had, looking at complete streets, and we've kind of put that back over, working with some of the things that we're doing overall, and some restructuring we think we'll have in the whole overall departments over there dealing with public works, planning, and a number of issues, and we think Caitlin will be a good addition to that. Charlie joins us from Escambia County, and Caitlin joins us from the Emerald Coast Regional Planning Council, where she most recently served as a Planner 3 and was responsible for bicycle and pedestrian planning assistance to 3 transportation planning organizations in Northwest Florida. And we're excited to have both of them here with the City of Pensacola. So again, we think good things are happening. The city is accepting applications for Pensacola Youth Council through September 17th. And Lawrence, I may have said the wrong thing today on the radio, and I apologize. I may have said I thought it ended already, but we do have through September 17th. The City of Pensacola is accepting applications for Pensacola Youth Council, a program for area high school students interested in becoming involved in their community, learning the inner workings of local government, and sharpening their leadership skills. Applications for the program are due on Friday, September 17th at 4 p.m. The program will run for 8 months from October 2021 to May of 2022. To be considered for the Pensacola Youth Council, you must meet the following requirements: be a high school student in Pensacola or Escambia County, Florida during the 2021-2022 academic year, and submit a completed application form by Friday, September 17th. Deadline: visit cityofpensacola.com and the City of Pensacola Facebook page to learn more and download an application. So we certainly encourage you to be a part of that. And again, I think we certainly are looking for the top people we can get, but there's a sort of a preference for city residents. But again, we are taking applications, and we'll look forward to, we want to fill our entire class. Mayor's Neighborhood Cleanup will be September 25th. The next Mayor's Cleanup will be September 25th for a portion of Scenic Heights neighborhood and Spanish Trail area. Please visit thecityofpensacola.com to see the cleanup map for details. Mayor's Neighborhood Cleanup allows City of Pensacola sanitation customers in the cleanup area to leave eligible items on the curb free of charge. And this is the second to last, and the last one will be in October. And we certainly always appreciate being able to provide this service to our citizens. I see Councilman Delarian Wiggins back in the back, so I just kind of wanted to appreciate him being here today. I saw his truck, so I know he's working hard. Got a lot of things going on with budget we're going to talk about. But small businesses are invited to connect with virtual Pensacola Supplier Diversity Exchange on September 21st. Small business owners and suppliers are invited to connect with Pensacola Supplier Diversity Exchange on the 21st. This is a free event featuring opportunities to market goods and services directly with local and state buyers. I do not see Brian Weir here, but I know he's here. But this is something he's been very much trying to get up and running, and he's done a couple of these, and it's been challenging with COVID. But I know he's responsible for working with our team to make this happen. We think this is a great way for us to get a wider pool of service providers. The event will now take place virtually from 8:30 a.m. to noon via Zoom on the 21st. This will be hosted by the City of Pensacola, the Gulf Coast Minority Chamber of Commerce, and the Office of Supplier Diversity. The Diversity Exchange will also include panel discussions, networking opportunities, and one-on-one interviews. Although the event is free, attendees must register online to reserve a spot. Registration is available at PensacolaExchange2021.eventbrite.com. So please go there and register. And I really do appreciate Brian and the Gulf Coast Minority Chamber of Commerce working with us to put this on. I think it'll be a great event. As we talked about earlier with our COVID-19, Escambia County positivity for the rate was 20.3%, which is still far too high, but we are at least trending in the correct direction, coming down from in 30%. So, Brian, I just was giving you kudos for your supplier diversity exchange. So again, thank you very much. But COVID, at least at this particular time, our positivity rate is at 20.3%. Our hospitalizations, Friday we were at 306. Saturday we got back down we got to 298. Sunday 292, and today 284. So again, we're trending in the right direction, but we are far at this point too many at this time. So we again ask you to please take the precautionary measures to help us keep this number going down, and that's what we need to be doing. Monoclonal antibody site. As a reminder, the monoclonal antibody site is open at Bayview Community Center 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Appointments can be scheduled by visiting patientportalfl.com. Walk-ups will also be accepted. Bayview Community Center is located at 2001 East Lloyd Street, and we certainly, from that standpoint, ask you to be there as well on that. I was briefed on the events last week and some of the things about budget. We have another budget, our final budget hearing coming up this week. Again, we feel very good overall that what we've been able to do, and certainly in investing in our employees and making them a top priority and increasing engagement. As again, we talked about, we've gone now, we're in the top 70% in engagement. We're certainly seeing our employees, and I think the things that we've been doing, the things that we've got in this budget really show an investment in them, and I think they're showing in what they're getting done for the community and the services we provide. We're always striving to be better. I'm not saying we're perfect here, but we're getting better, and we continue to do that. But I think this budget will allow us to continue to do the right things and invest in the people who are here, and we're excited about that. So we hope everything works in on and gets passed on Wednesday, and then we'll be ready to move forward into the next budget year. And I know Amy Lavoie will be running around here on October 1st telling everybody Happy New Year. So we'll be ready to start a new year at that time. But that's all the things that we have at this particular time. I'm happy to answer your questions and about anything that may else be going on. Jim, I'll let you go first, and then we'll go Jeremy, and then.
Do you have any comments about the Thursday night meeting and the proposed food truck ordinance?
I think what we've said for a long time is we're excited to see us moving into actually getting our law and ordinance consistent with our practice. And I think along those lines, I think, as we've said before, we've been excited and working with legal and with Councilman Jones. So I think it's going to hopefully produce us something we want. I don't really know that the council had to send it to planning board. That seems like an unnecessary delay. It shouldn't even be in our LDC. It creates problems for us in our LDC. It shouldn't be there no matter what it is. I don't think it's really relevant to the LDC. Certainly Sherry Morris felt that way. Vanessa felt that way. I would have hoped council could have just started that process and not worried about delaying it. But I am excited to see at least some movement upon getting us a rule that is consistent with what's going on. And we're going to continue to work with them and try to figure out what's the right thing for us to do. And I think getting the law that's consistent with our practice is a good thing. And so we highly encourage that, and we think what Councilman Jones is bringing forward is a good solution. Yes.
The density transfers that got passed. Can you just talk a little bit about that? What it does? Why it's useful? I'm not fully clear. So
is this, and again, that one I was not as much up on. I got up on a few other events that occurred there. Is this, Kareth? Is this us being able to transfer
densities from one property to another property?
Okay, but I thought we already had some of that in.
Comprehensive plan, but not plan development code.
Okay, all right. Again, getting all of our rules consistent with each other. We've had this mechanism that's there. It does allow it allows you to. I mean, other cities have this. It allows you to be able to trade some things back and forth to get your right density between different properties if you can. It creates an intensity that is no different across the entire neighborhood, but may be different on a couple of different properties that allow you to have maybe a little less density somewhere else, more density, but overall within the same area have what you need. So I think it's a common practice that's done in other communities. I think it makes us consistent with what we've said we wanted to do, and now our codes are more in line together. So I think that will allow you to be a little bit more consistent. Is there a specific question you have?
I didn't really understand. I mean, it feels like a way to get density of a greater amount than the residents would normally want based on the zoning, I suppose, or the future land use or whatever, by shuffling density numbers from one part to another. And that would seem to create an opportunity for a type of housing that people might not want, but I may be misreading it, that's why I'm asking.
You only have as much density as you have between all the properties. I mean, they'd have to be, generally where you see property density transfers are typically properties that are adjacent or a variety of other things. So you don't get any more density than you would have in overall. It does allow you to shift and have maybe some lower density in a certain property and more density in another one. So it can create things, but the overall area, I mean, it's consistent with what other cities do, other mechanisms that are there, and I think it can be something that allows you to create. I think a lot of times when you look at space, especially when you look at some spaces that you want to create a certain public atmosphere in, it gives you the opportunity to create more of that by trading some density, because you can say, hey, if these properties are of value, but if I want to put, say, a park or some kind of public amenity here, I can still use the density from that one and be able to do some other things. So there is certainly the possibility to create higher density on one parcel, but overall you stay consistent within the overall area. There's no more people coming into an area. It's usually a trade-off. It gives you something that allows you to go lower density somewhere else and create more of a trade-off opportunity. Many communities do this, Andrew, so it's not inconsistent with what we see other communities doing. Yes, Jeremy.
Yeah, back to the food truck stuff. So can you kind of clarify what's going on right now? You know, in the interim, while it gets kicked to the planning board and the village?
We're waiting that. I think we're trying to be very intentional with educating people and learning what's going to be there. So seeing that we don't have a real clear picture, I think most of what Steve Richards and his team are doing are trying to educate people as to currently what the rule is now and currently what the rule is proposed. And sort of as we understand, if we're going in a model that really goes more with I think more consistent with what other cities have done, especially historic cities that have kind of said, hey, we don't mind food trucks, but we don't necessarily have them in our sort of the box that is the more historic area, more traditional area. It doesn't mean that you can't have them if you have an event. It's totally allowable in the existing ordinance and the future ordinance. If you want to get special event permit, but on a regular basis, no, they would not be allowed. These are also the areas where we were having the most problems and problematic with owners, other owners in that area. I've been very clear up here that I think there are areas where food trucks are very productive. I can tell you at Cordova Park, there was an ice cream one just down the street at our park. There's a guy that has the Greek food truck over on these work very well over there on Summit and Spanish Trail. So food trucks can work very well. It's odd that we have an ordinance that said they weren't supposed to be at all. So
Right.
Let's get our ordinance consistent with what our practice is.
But until that is lined up,
We are being educational. We're being very educational. We've been that way and continue to be that way. We have not fined anybody. We've educated people as to what the rules are.
whether they get a warning, during this 2-week period or whatever we're talking about.
We have worked with Steve Richards. I think Labor Day weekend and this past weekend. All we were doing is being educational with people and explaining to them what the process was, and we will continue to do that.
Well, I think these people are aware, because they're at the city council meeting. So tonight, is code enforcement going to go to Two Birds and say, hey, all this stuff you already know? Or are they just going to kind of sit back for 2 weeks until this gets lined up?
I think what they will do is if they have the opportunity and talk to people, they'll say this is what's going on. They'll probably say, if you're sitting in the area of Palafox north of Garden Street, you're probably outside of the box. This will be an area that you would be allowed to do that, and they will explain that to that individual, and they'll go forward.
There's no dogs yet, and technically, they're not allowed. So there's no moratorium. Technically, there's no...
We're in an educational. We're not looking to fine anybody or do anything else. We haven't fined anybody at all yet at this particular time. So again, we made people aware of what the rule is. we're in the process of changing the rule, and we appreciate them getting involved in changing the rule. It helps get us to the end goal that we want to do. But we're at this point we're not doing anything telling people one way or another that they can't operate at this particular time. We're making them aware of the rule, and when that new rule comes in, we will be enforcing that new rule.
Just another follow-up on that issue is at the council meeting Thursday. There was a discussion about unlicensed food vendors on Jefferson and Government setting up in the early morning hours, and the city's legal team said there's actually state law that would allow police to go in and ask for their business license. Is that being done at all?
We could certainly look into that. I think the easier part was if I get the box rule, it makes it a lot easier for both. And I think we need to find something that's easy for both the application of both police officers and code enforcement, because generally we don't code enforce at that hour of the day. So obviously I'd like to get a law and an ordinance that was able for us to be able to enforce in ways that aren't necessarily just putting Steve Richards people, because we don't have that in the current budget to set them up at all hours of the night. So I would like to get a law and an ordinance that is effective for us to enforce in a number of different ways. But I mean, we can look at some of that right now. I mean, the challenge is if they go get if they apply, which all they got to do is apply and pay the money, they get a permit. We're right back to square one. So I'd rather get an ordinance that makes it very clear for code enforcement, for the police, for any other enforcement agency that we have, what the rule is, and I think that makes it much easier going forward. And there isn't an ability for somebody to simply for a few dollars come up and figure out and solve the problem and move right back in. So I think we just got to be careful about how we solve it, and I think we need to do something that's more longer lasting. But I mean, this gets back to the whole issue. If we truly believe that food trucks are a viable issue for our city, I think our ordinances should reflect that, rather than just simply say, hey, we got crazy rules on the books, we just want you to act this way. I mean, there's no reason we can't, our rules can't actually say what we want to do. There's no reason we can't do that.
I will add that code enforcement will be responding to complaints, especially about, or specifically about unlicensed vendors. So.
Well, Steve will be working on that. So they'll be doing that as we can. The big general challenge is we do not have something for them to be all hours of the night, but that's where my hope is that this is going to be something that solves itself fairly soon, and it won't impact their budget dramatically and have to change that with their budget. But at this particular time, those are some of the challenges with using code enforcement. Is our worst time and our worst offenses happen when we generally don't have code enforcement officers out there.
Could you explain the rationale behind the box? Because it seems like, because the Bill complained or Jordan Valley complained, that the box is created at the core. What if somebody outside that box complained? What is the rationale? Because there was the unlicensed safety concern brought up, but there was also the unfair competition concern.
I think from that side, Jeremy, we just got to figure out what's happening. I mean, the council tried to solve this in 2016, 2017, and didn't get this resolved. I think one of the things that I saw very clearly, and whether it was Savannah, New Orleans, some of the other, they don't allow it in their historic area. And my understanding is from the Historic Trust, they would really prefer not to have that in those core areas as well of our historic area. It just so happens to fit. That's the area that we also have the problem with some of the restaurants. But we haven't had a dramatic issue saying, we don't want this here or don't want that there. Like I said before, we had people operating out there at Summit and Fire and in Spanish Trail. There hasn't been a real complaint. There hasn't been an issue. I have an ice cream truck right down the street from my house. Sure. It's not a problem.
But downtown, why the historic area? Is it too crowded? Is it what?
mean, just a variety of other things. We see it consistent with other cities. And I mean, if we have complaints and we have things that aren't working, we can tailor the law and we can work within that to find a solution that works. So I mean, I think overall it works. I mean, if we get an ordinance where people are like, man, we can make it happen, we can make food trucks happen in places where we don't have problems, and we can prevent them in areas that we do have problems, then what we have is a good ordinance that's easy to enforce and easy to understand, so people can figure out where they want to go when they come into it. I wish they'd done this. I wish they'd done this 4 years ago. It'd been a lot easier for me, I can assure you. But at the end of the day, I want to get the right thing done for the city. I mean, it's more what's the right thing for Pensacola.
I guess I'm just wondering, like, is it a, municipal infrastructure type issue, or no, you're catering ordinance to specific commercial interests? Because you can look at this from the...
Well, we have an ordinance right now that says no food truck vendors, and we're changing that. So we're changing it for a special interest that wants to bring food trucks in. So we're always changing ordinances for what's there. So I'm not sure. It seems like if it's a special interest I like, then that's an ordinance I like to do. If it's a special interest I don't like, then they're all special interests. I mean, that's the general purpose of that. That's been my frustration with this all along. Jeremy, I mean, that's what we try to work out. We try to get rules that work, and so that's the idea of what's happened. So I think we make that work, and we get an ordinance that works, that we can properly enforce, and it'll be the right thing for Pensacola. And I don't want it because it's necessarily the same thing that other places have done. I want to tailor it to what's right for Pensacola. So let's do what's right for Pensacola.
Is it, and I'm sorry to keep beating this, but is it right, like, right now in 2021, and like 2 years later, it's not going to be right because of food trucks?
The good thing, Jeremy, is there's always a chance there's a legislative body called the council that gets elected all the time, and they can change the rules at any time they want to. So I mean, I think that's what allows. If it's like zoning is meant to be dynamic. It's meant to change over time as your community changes. But oftentimes we look at zoning and think it's static. Our problem is sometimes our rules don't keep up, and that's the council's position to set new rules. And I mean, the issue, what we had was until the executive branch came up and said, this is a crazy rule. Why are we enforcing this? And why are we doing this in a way of through the enforcement? It should have been through the code. I mean, our rules should reflect what we are asking things to do. So having some consistency in that we elect council members every 2 years. Council changes every 2 years. Hell, in 2 years from now, we may have a totally different ruling on food trucks. They may end up changing everything, but they have the ability to do that. So, I mean, from my standpoint, our rules should reflect what we do in practice. If they don't, then that's a bad rule, and it needs to be changed. And if we come into 2 years from now and the council wants to change, I could care less. I mean, it's what the council wants to change and how they want to go and what the community decides they want to do. But my point is, you can't define special interest as the person I like and the person I don't like. That's not what it's about. We have to enforce the rules all the way across. And that was particularly troubling to me. I mean, again, if you say this is a dumb rule, I'll be the first to say I agree with you. It's a dumb rule, but you can't enforce things differently on different people. And I think we had a lot of people that seem to want to do that, and I think that's an inconsistency that should send off red flags at any particular time. So I think the better situation is let's get the ordinance correct. And if you get the ordinance correct, it makes it real easy. And if you want to change the ordinance, we meet twice a month. You can come change the ordinance. We'll figure it out, and there's a process by which you can always change ordinances. It's what we do with the youth council. We take them to Tallahassee, we show them how laws are made. We take them to city council, show them how ordinances are made. Well, thank you very much for being here today, and we look forward to, got a lot of things happening this week. Hopefully look forward to getting budget settled, and we'll go from there. Thank you.